You got a strike like that. That's
Yeah, just throw it in the air. He's going to get it.
yeah, that is definitely impressive. All right, I made reference to it. 5-game NBA slate here on the Association. We'll take you in and out of some of these matchups. I do want to start and have a conversation on Jayson Tatum. Maybe the biggest story in the NBA that we've been tracking for a significant period of time. Rudy, you were on record. IT sort of the same about tempering maybe the expectation levels around Jayson Tatum. 2 games in, I feel like we can remove any sort of the expectation level. I think he's looked pretty good considering, but what did you guys make of small sample size, at least the early returns from Tatum?
Oh, he looked great. He looked like you could tell the work he's been putting in. You could tell he's taking everything serious, and it was never that. We always knew Jayson Tatum's going to be Jayson Tatum. He is who he is for a reason, but we're just worried about the long game. We want to see him out there for the long haul.
I was thinking about you, man, because on Friday when he plays, he gets the start. And I'm thinking about the conversation that we had here. And you said, hey, he's got to work himself into it. I go, they're starting. And I'm thinking to myself, oh, they're just throwing him into the deep end.
Yeah, which is a good thing. And they said no minutes restrictions. So I was surprised in those things, but they've been around him every day. They know how healthy he is. And it seemed like he's in a great place mentally as well. Like, he's out there smiling. Even though he's struggling percentage-wise, just being out there and being a decoy and being another option that the Celtics have, like, I'm happy for him. I'm happy for the Celtics. I think this can help down the line as he gets the rust off these last whatever games are in the season and gets ready for the playoffs.
Yeah, look, we can have a conversation on how this changes the Celtics in the postseason. We'll do that in just a second here. But there's one thing that resonates in our conversations over the last couple of weeks around Tatum. Rudy, you had said it's one thing what he does on the offensive side, but how he's tested on the defensive side. You thought that there could be potentially some issues, and even if there weren't, you're going to see teams try to attack him. The defensive numbers that we've seen with Tatum, certainly impressive, who he's had to match up against. Take a look at some of these numbers. Tatum spent about 75% of his defensive possessions yesterday guarding either Harden, Mitchell, Tyson, Dean Wade. You holding those guys 25% shooting. To me, that's Rudy, you're kind of like doing a double take here. I mean, that's impressive.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's just surprising us all, man. It truly shows how dedicated he is. But even with those numbers being what they are, with the small sample size, people are still going to try you, of course. They would have done it whether he wasn't hurt. But now, knowing that he had that injury, people are definitely going to try him for sure. I hope he holds up. I hope he can continue to keep those numbers up and help this team win.
Your mindset around this team change at all? Postseason conversation?
Yeah, if he's healthy and he's available, which obviously he looks like, it definitely changes things. Like, as he gets more of a rhythm, gets into more of game shape as he plays more games, and it seems like he's so healthy, he's not really planning on sitting any games either. So I think it can only help them. As healthy as he is, that's going to help them. Him just being out there. And then on defense, like you guys were just talking about a minute ago, they're a good defensive team to where they can help him out a lot. Like, he doesn't have to be the defensive stopper. He just has to be solid in all the right spots, and he's doing that to start his comeback.
What's the biggest adjustment for the rest of the guys that are now playing with him?
Well, it's now a different game. That's a different. No matter what their record is or how good they're playing, they're a different team with Jayson Tatum on the floor. So it is a different game. It's an adjustment for those other guys. Obviously you're adjusting for one of the league's best players, so you want to figure it out fast, especially going into the postseason. But it definitely is a different team than it was prior to Jayson Tatum being there.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think, for the most part, those guys have played with him before.
Yeah.
So it's just an adjustment period in terms of when he's playing, his rotation minutes, all of those things. And I think at some point they're a good enough team and really well coached to where they're going to be prepared to make sure he's out there in the best possible position he could be in to make sure that team is successful.
There was one moment I was watching that Cavs game where Tatum's, in attack mode, and I know you referenced some of those percentages. I'd love to get your take on what you witnessed on one specific play where he's getting some contact from Evan Mobley and still able to go and finish. I think we have some of that video here. To me, all right, this is just kind of a rip of this is sort of the jump shooting ability, but just creating and getting.
That was just a rhythm jump shot.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just in attack mode when you're trying to come back from an injury, like Rudy, like that challenge that you have in your head, trying to trusting coming off of that injury, like to me that was a good sign that we saw.
Yeah, it was. There is such like that. That's the one you were talking about. I think you were referencing. There is a situation where you have to figure out. And we don't know how long everything's pretty much been under wraps. So we really don't know how long he was putting, in time going against guys and actually practicing. But it looks like he's been going for a little while because his rhythm didn't seem that much off other than the first game. But that's the first thing you do. You have to get in there and get some contact. Trust yourself, trust your moves, and he looked pretty good so far.
Yeah, and then to do these things against an all-defensive player and Evan Mobley, those are all positives in your mind. Those are all confidence builders when you're able to go past a guy, finish past a guy like that, and do it in your second game. Even in the first game, there was some drives where I'm like, that's going to be positive for his mindset, because at the end of the day, he's definitely second-guessing himself at times because he's human, and that's where the mind goes. But when he's able to complete plays like that against really good defenders, that's like, oh, man, I still can do this, and I can do it at a high level. So I know everybody's happy for Jayson Tatum. I think it adds a really big piece to their situation in their season, and I'm excited to see how that ends.
Yeah, well, it feels like the Celtics team is set up for a whole lot of success. We saw it without Tatum, but you got a guy in Jayson who was last year in the conversation for an MVP, Jaylen Brown this year in the conversation for an MVP, and yet Kenny Atkinson's got a lot of praise for Derek White being one of the significant pieces here. And I know you're smiling here because I know you like Derek White. He actually said he's a top 5 player in the NBA. Let's take a listen to the explanation around that.
Maybe mainstream looks out just the offensive, but he's an elite lead on both ends. So that equals, to me, for coaches in this league, for players in the league, that's how we look at him as a great player in that bucket. So, again, analytically, I think it's probably proven in various places that he is that player. And that's how we treat him. He's really disrupts you defensively. He's an elite rim protector, and people don't really like a guy, probably the best guard rim protector in the league. So just take all those things and put it in there, and with the shooting, you got a great player.
Well, my Lord, if it's a top 5 player in Derek White, they got a top 5 guy in Jaylen Brown. And if Jayson Tatum's near healthy, they got another top 5 guy potentially in the NBA. But for a guy that's
room for anybody else?
Exactly. He's got 3 out of the top 5 that's sitting on that Celtics roster. You like Derek White. You've talked about him extensively on this show. What did you make of that praise?
Well, I mean, it's high praise. Obviously, him being a coach and coaching against him and him being able to play and do things within those games, obviously, that probably is why he feels that way. But everybody has their guys, people they like, people they want to watch, and that's what's great about this league. Top 5 player in the league. I mean, analytics and actually playing is 2 different things. I love Derek to death, and I think he has a lot of the potential. He has a lot more game to play, but a lot more basketball to play. But they do have a 7'5" alien somewhere in the league.
That is appropriate.
At least one of those spots.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's crazy he said that. But I get it, especially from a coach's standpoint, and analytically, all those things. I understand what he's saying. Like he makes a big impact on winning. And I know from a coach's standpoint, they probably all feel that way.
Yeah.
But like Rudy said, you got to be out there as well. So he's really good, though. One of the best. Yeah. He's a superstar in his role, for sure.
No, that's a good way of describing it. You saw the standings there with that Celtics team just behind the Detroit Pistons. It's 2 teams that are seemingly going in opposite directions right now.
Man.
Yeah.
It's really spooky.
Do you think Boston finishes as a 1 seed?
It's possible.
Yeah.
It's possible. They're still going through the learning process, too. They haven't really hit any hurdles. They have a tough schedule coming up. So we'll see how they fare against those guys. But they have a legitimate chance of ending this season at number 1.
Yeah, you can see right now 76ers and the Cavaliers getting after it right now. Cleveland on top by 6 points. Of course, you can catch this game in its entirety over on League Pass. I don't know, IT, from a Eastern Conference top 4, top 5 positioning. I know you like Boston.
Playing and how Detroit's not playing as well. it could be taking a toll on the Pistons.
All right, so explain this to me because I'm looking at these struggles, and I know everyone's talked about offensively some of the issues that they have, just roster construction, another playmaker, more specifically probably another shooter on this team, and yet some of these defensive numbers, you can see the efficiency over these last 4 games, almost 120 points allowed on 100 possessions. I mean, that's abysmal for a team whose identity is stop you, make it really physical, and have you sort of rethink attacking. What has been the biggest issue you've seen from Detroit over these last 4?
Well, I think Asar being out,
Sure.
being hurt, he's another guy that can defend and play in transition. But like you said, like we talked about earlier, another playmaker. I mean, Duncan Robinson is basically holding the team together as far as shooting. That's like the only guy that is a flat-out shooter on that team. I feel like even having another playmaker can make his job a lot easier, and Cade. So Jalen Duran's been playing well. I mean, him and Cade, they have something going on as far as the connection. So, you know, it's still possible for them to win playoff series. It's just going to be a lot tougher knowing their struggles.
Yeah, I feel the same way. It's going to be difficult, but they are a really good team. They're just struggling right now. I think this is the first time all year long where they've showed where they're not playing at the highest level. And it happens throughout an 82-game season. So I'm not too concerned because their offensive production has dropped as well as their defensive production. But that happens when you're on a 4-game losing streak. So hopefully they can erase that towards the end of the season and have some momentum going into the playoffs, because that's going to be big for a young team. Yeah. If you go into the playoffs where you're not playing well, man, that puts a lot of pressure on everybody involved.
You can't win every game, right? Like, I think we all understand that. IT, inside of a locker room, though, when you are a 1 seed and you're suffering through a 4-game losing streak right now, like, we're on television. This is the association. It's NBA TV. We're going to talk about a losing streak. Is this at all a thing? Like, do they just sit here and go, all right, like, it's cool, we'll figure it out?
I think they're not worried. Like with Coach JB Bickerstaff, they're not worried, but they got to fix things that they're not doing well. So I don't think it's a panic. I don't think it's something where you hit the panic button, but you got to fix things sooner than later because you need that momentum going into the playoffs. So I think they're aware of that. They got a great coaching staff and guys that's been thrown in the fire, and I think they can relate the message to the players, and they can try to get, you know, as the season goes on, try to get a few wins and get that positive momentum going.
Yeah, we'll talk more about the Pistons coming up here on the association. Keep in mind, we just checked in on Philadelphia and Cleveland. We'll go back to that game